Hey, so hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Pirate Report, a WSOU news podcast delivering in-depth coverage of everything from national news to pop culture. I'm Caitlin Barrar, joined today by Jacob Glick, Nick Deodato, and Elijah Weintraub. We have a lot to get into today, so let's get right into it. A lot of big topics. Jacob, we'll start with you. You have something about the recent announcement of the 2026 NBA champions, Knicks, accepting their invitation to the White House. Why don't you start us off with that?
Yeah, so the Knicks are, I believe, one of the first teams since President Trump was reelected to go back to the White House after winning a championship. He was at Game 3 of the finals, which I believe was the first time he's been at a sporting event while he was sitting president. I know he was at the one of the World Series games for the Braves back in 2021, but he wasn't president then. He was there for Game 3. We know he's good friends with James Dolan. James Dolan said he's known him for 30 years. He's a good friend of his, so it would be rude to turn down the invitation. Controversy kind of comes as I don't know if he kind of talked to the team or not about if they want to accept the invitation, because there are some guys that have had vocal opinions about it, whether it's Josh Hart or Karl Anthony Towns, about Donald Trump in the past. So, yeah, they're one of the first teams to accept the invitation since then, and some people are upset that he probably didn't consult the team first.
There was a couple thoughts I had on this on this case with the Knicks. First off, to me, it's part of the package of winning the NBA Finals and winning the NBA trophy. If you win it, it's all part of the deal. You got to go see the president. You got to go see the media and all this other stuff. To me, this is the package that I believe comes with an NBA Finals. The trophy presentation followed by a party. But then the next 2 days, it's nothing but interviews with Good Morning America, Today's Show, Fallon, etc. You get the idea. Then you have a parade. You get the phone calls you have to make to the kids, the charity events, all that stuff. But it also includes a trip to the White House. To me, it is an American thing to go see the White House, to go experience what it is down in Washington, D.C. and what it's like. You have to do it once, in my opinion. And it's crazy to think that in the recent 10 years, including the Knicks, only 4 teams said yes to go to the White House. 3 of those were during the Biden administration. The rest said no. 5 teams said no, and the Lakers had the COVID time where they were unable to go to the White House. But it's crazy to think why a lot of these teams are saying no. I mean, it's part of the tradition. It's just go see the White House. It's an American thing. Do it. Who cares about your political opinion? It's about seeing the White House and experiencing and witnessing a championship together as a team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Elijah. I think that once you win your championship, you have, every reason to go to the White House and experience that as an NBA champion. The Knicks are the first team to go. I know the Warriors declined it when they won back-to-back, and then the Raptors and the Lakers declined it in Trump's first term, and then the Thunder declined it last year. So now, with James Dolan being such good friends with Donald Trump, they are going to be the first team to go. And I think that you need to put your politics aside for a little bit. And in this case, it looks like that's what they're going to be doing. And for them going to the White House, I think it's the right move to make. They're the first team to ever do it. And I think they're going to stand out because of that. This is probably one of the biggest championships since I can remember. The Knicks winning has never been this big in the sports world. So because of that, them going to the White House is honestly, in my opinion, a really good thing. And it shows that the team can put politics aside to do something on a broader image of the world. And that's, to be an American citizen, and as an American citizen, winning an NBA championship and going to the White House to speak to the president, speak to the current administration. It's a cool thing to see, especially with a team from New York and guys from New York.
And I think I want to add one more point to your topic that you mentioned. You mentioned the Raptors, and I could see why they didn't choose to visit the White House. And I think the reason is because, well, they're a Canadian team. They're the Toronto Raptors. So I guess it makes sense for them not to visit the White House, because, again, it is a Canadian team. But for the rest of the teams, they're American teams. They're from the United States. They play in the United States. There is no excuse why they should not visit the White House, in my opinion. And for the Knicks championship, yeah, it's been a long time in New York, and boy, are they really excited, everybody here around the tri-state area, about this win.
I have a question for you guys. So Some teams choose not to go. Some teams, like the Eagles last year, some of the guys went. Do you think it's a worse look if only some of the guys go, or it's a worse look if the whole team doesn't go?
See, I think that's the worst look if some of the players don't go. I mean, you're a team. That's your job. Your job is to just go to the White House and go. If you choose not to go to it, I think it looks bad on the players, not so much the team overall.
Yeah, I think if, some guys go and some guys don't go, it shows that you're not really united as a team. You're not working together as a team, that some people are going, some people aren't because of, political differences or different ideologies. I think it shows that on the field or on the court, they could be, united and together, but off the court, they're clearly not. And I think it actually is kind of a worse look to go separately than it is to not go at all.
Yeah, and I think all of you bring up really good points with that. That was what I was wondering when I saw that the Knicks accepted, knowing that a lot of the players have been outspoken against Trump in the past. And, with Trump's relationship to the NBA and what, back in 2017, I think, Nick, you mentioned it, when he invited the Warriors to the White House, Steph Curry said he wasn't going to go. Wasn't interested in going. And then Trump withdrew his invitation. So there's just been an interesting tension between the NBA and Trump in his presidency. And yeah, those are my things. Jacob, you mentioned it. The controversy of whether or not Dolan actually asked the team whether or not they wanted to go. So I think maybe we see some of the players hold. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the team did not end up going. Do we know? Is there anyone who's absolutely come out and said they weren't going yet, or is this kind of just a recent thing?
I think as of now, it looks like everybody's going. We haven't at least heard that there are people not going. It wouldn't shock me to see that development relatively soon, but as of now, I don't think we've heard about that.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if within the coming days, obviously, I don't think they know the date in which they're going yet. But I wouldn't be shocked if, even when they do end up going, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a decent amount of them kind of doing the same thing the Eagles did, where half the team does go and then half the team kind of is not there for, whatever reason they choose. Yeah, that wouldn't be too shocking to me at all, given kind of what the players on the team have been outspoken about in the past. But kind of staying in the same realm of the NBA, Nick, I know the NBA draft is in, a week, 2 weeks? And so you're going to give us kind of a rundown of who you think is going when?
Yeah, so with the NBA draft being on Tuesday and I will be in attendance, I figured with most of the stories over the past 2 months being about the NBA champion Nick, rightfully so, I figured it'd be good to touch on some of the bad teams for once, with the draft being just 5 days away. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a salty Nets fan, but to start, I think with the first pick, the Wizards are definitely going to take AJ Devonta. They finally get the saving from the NBA. They get the number one pick for, I believe, the first time in 16 years since John Wall. Their future looks brighter than ever. They, made really big trades for Trae Young and Anthony Davis. They have a lot of young talent. Taking Devonta with the first pick is really a no-brainer. He led the nation with 25.5 points per game. He fits into the system perfectly as kind of a bigger scoring wing. I think he'll become a nonstop highlight reel, just like we saw in the early days of guys like John Morant, Zion, and like a Cooper Flag, a generational talent that is going to be the final piece to finish up the tanking years in Washington. With two, I have a little bit of a shocker here. I don't think Darren Peterson is going to. I think it's going to be Cam Boozer with the Utah Jazz. For starters, I think pairing him with Jaren Jackson Jr. is a front court nightmare down the line. He can score from pretty much anywhere. He shot 40% from three. He dribbles like a point forward. It did seem like Peterson was going to fall here, but he declined a pre-draft workout with the Jazz and is highly confident that he gets picked number one, which definitely isn't happening. So the Jazz already took a chance on a guy last year who didn't want to be in Utah with Ace Bailey. I don't think they want to press their luck by doing that again. And of course, the cherry on top is that Carlos Boozer Cam Boozer's dad and multiple-time All-Star for the Utah Jazz, worked for the front office and is a scout for Utah. So it's made perfect sense from the beginning. People just were kind of blind to see it. With the third pick, I do think the Grizzlies are then going to take Peterson. Peterson's made it clear he will only play in Washington or Memphis. He looked like an NBA-ready guy since high school, offensively and defensively. He's extremely skilled. But as a person, he's coming in as a cocky star who expects star treatment right away and has all the makings to be a locker room problem. Memphis will look to replace one off-court issue in John Morant with a guy like Darren Peterson, arrogant and cocky, but a clear-cut number one option on a rebuilding team. At number 4, I have the Bulls taking Caleb Wilson. This is a guy who I wish was in net if Brooklyn trades up. But Chicago gets a steal really early in this draft. Wilson's probably the most athletic player in the draft. His shooting does need work and injuries could be a problem, but I think it'll be interesting to see how he fits into a new offense ran by Thiago Splitter. For the Clippers, I have them taking Keaton Wagler, who I think will be the first bust of the draft. I really think he's honestly very overrated. I think he played on a great Illinois team, and I don't really think he looks that NBA ready. He doesn't thrive at one thing. Defensively, he has a lot to work on, as well as getting to the rim. Down the line, maybe he could fit next to Darius Garland, but that's very far down the line. At 6, I have my Brooklyn Nets taking Darius Acuff, and I think he will be the savior. He has always been that guy. I don't love Brooklyn taking another guard in the lottery, but the options for forward are slim. So I don't think they'll trade that pick either because Sean Marks is incompetent. But Darius Acuff is the best scorer in the draft, best scorer in the nation. He can score from anywhere. It's so elite that I think how well he is at scoring really shuts down how he is defensively. And pairing him next to Yegor Demon with a young backcourt could give Nets fans like me hope for the future. At 7, I think the Kings are going to take Kingston Flemings, my second bust pick of the year. And it's just because I think he's extremely underdeveloped and he's really not built yet. He's a lanky and small guy. And I don't know how much slashing he could do in the NBA like he did in Houston. I don't think he'll be as big of a bust as Wagler, but I don't see him developing like many analysts say or becoming the next De'Aaron Fox for the Kings. At 8, I have the Hawks taking Mikael Brown Jr. from Louisville. I think Atlanta is going to get a steal with him. He averaged 18, 5, and 3 in 21 games at Louisville, and his season was cut short due to injury. However, I don't view that as much of a concern because of how elite he was playing even with an injury. He fits perfectly with CJ McCollum aging out, and that's somebody who can mentor him in Atlanta and continue the growth of his playmaking and scoring ability that we've seen in college. At 9, I think the Mavericks will take Braden Burries from Arizona. Honestly, Burries has kind of flown really under the radar this draft, and his offensive ceiling isn't really known yet, but he's shown that he can be a versatile scorer. I don't really know how his career goes out. I think he's a very big wild card in this draft. I think he will be one of the underdogs as well going to Dallas. At 10, I have the Bucks taking Axel Lendeborg. I think they're going to make this pick simply to try their best to look for a Giannis replacement. But this guy's 24 years old. He's not someone you want when you're developing a new young core. His defensive upside is good, but he's extremely injury prone and he's not that skilled offensively. He can defend every position. He can be physical and aggressive when needed, but age and injuries are a big worry to me. And coming into the NBA this late is going to hurt more than help. At 11, I have the Warriors taking Natum Ment, who I wish the Warriors were tanking and not trying to go for a last second run because Natum Ment has such high potential. And I think it's just going to be wasted here. He's a perimeter forward who can dribble the ball and shoot from almost anywhere. Watching him at Tennessee was very much like watching Jalen Johnson on the Hawks, but he's a project piece. I don't think we'll see that potential for a while. And on a tanking or rebuilding team, that would be okay, but the Warriors refuse to accept reality. So he'll turn out just like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Good, but not great. The Thunder at 12, I have them taking the Dave Mari from Michigan. It fits that the Thunder would get, in my opinion, one of the steals of the draft. Mara has pretty much everything down but a three-point shot. Defensive, passing, size, handles. He has it all. Defenders are going to try to push him to the outside of the arc, and that's going to be where he collapses. But OKC's losing a lot of role players this offseason due to money. So grabbing a guy like Mara will help in the long run, and I think he'll be their next best center while being developed by Chet. And at 13, with the Miami Heat, I have him taking Laverick Fillon Jr. from Alabama. Another guy, in my opinion, who I think is under the radar and a wild card. A very high scorer at Alabama, but scouts don't really know if he could be the go-to guy. they won't have to worry because he definitely won't be in Miami, especially if they get Giannis. He didn't really play that great or impress many people at the combine, and he relies a lot on his scoring. Besides that, his skills are pretty bare. So I think he falls into kind of an under the radar, not so great pick. Lastly, in the lottery at 14, I have the Hornets getting probably the biggest deal of the draft with Kareem Lopez. Lopez is going to fall in the mix. I think he's going to fall to the last pick here. He's experienced. He's already played 3 years of professional ball in New Zealand. He's a versatile two-way player. He can pass the ball. He's proven to be a high IQ player while overseas. He's a really big steal for this Hornets team and a player who can make an immediate impact on the court.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the picks that you said. One of the biggest ones to disagree with, I think that the Bucks are going to go Nate Ament, not Yaxel Lendeborg. I think that it's not like a conclusion yet, but I think it's a pretty good chance that Giannis is gone in the coming days, coming weeks. And with a guy like Yaxel Lendeborg said he's 24 years old, and they don't really have. If they trade Giannis, they're not looking to compete in the next couple of years. So drafting a 24-year-old really doesn't make that much sense to me. So I would think they would go with a guy with Nate Ament there. And also, it's not like too big of a deal, but we saw Giannis' weaknesses besides the one year they won the championship was if he forced the ball to the outside, don't really have a chance. So a guy like him who's able to score on the outside would be very big for them. And then Ademar going to the Thunder, I think actually is a very good move. I had him going to the Warriors between Lendeborg and Ament. But if Mara goes to Thunder, that's their guy. They're going to put on Wembanyama. I don't know if he's quite fast enough to really contain Victor Wembanyama, but again, Chet Holmgren just wasn't getting it done. Remains to be seen if he's even going to be on the team next year. But Mara, for a guy who's 7'3", 7'4", is very coordinated. He's agile for his size. So I think that's the pick they're going to go with there because now we've seen Wembanyama's the guy to beat in the West. So that's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your picks, and I really think that AJ is going to be a really good first-round pick in my opinion. If we look at his stats from last year, 25 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 3.7 assists. I think he's going to be a really good addition to this Wizards team that really needs a lot of help, and I think this Wizards team heading into next season might actually have a chance to make a good run for it. I'm hoping for the best for them.
Yeah, I think you made some really good points. Especially agree with both you, Jacob and Nick, about Yaxel. If the Bucks draft him, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, like you guys both said. Just from the age standpoint, if you're trying to rebuild, you don't rebuild with a 24-year-old. That's, typically how that doesn't work. And as far as the top 3 picks go, I feel like it's a very similar situation to last year in a sense. Obviously, you knew who was going first last year, but, Ace Bailey falling to 4, everyone thought the Sixers were going to take him. They took VJ Edgecombe, which was a way better decision at the end of the day. But, yeah, I think it should be interesting for the Wizards because it came out yesterday that Trae Young is electing free agency. So I don't know. Yes, obviously, Mansta is a very good player and would help them in any way possible. I think anyone in this top 3 will help them. Maybe not Boozer. But I agree with what you said, Nick. I think Boozer and Jaren Jackson will be a good front court duo. I think the Jazz kind of, in the West anyway, you have a lot of strong centers out there. So I think having those two kind of will help the Jazz maybe compete a little bit better out there. And then, yeah, Peterson is a good replacement for John Morant, whatever is going to go on with him, whether Memphis decides to trade him or whatnot. But yeah, I agree. I think Demansta does end up going first just because of maybe popularity, maybe what the Wizards need. The Wizards quite literally need just about everything. So, they can use a scorer like him, especially now knowing that Trae Young will no longer be on the team. They made that trade and, he's, Lord knows where he's going to end up. I doubt he actually re-signs with the Wizards as a player who's looking to win. But for now, our final topic of the day, moving into our pop culture section. I know Elijah, I'm excited to talk about this. It's one of my favorite movie franchises ever. Elijah, you're going to talk about the upcoming Toy Story 5 movie.
Yeah, I am, and yeah, it was also one of my favorite movie franchise of all time, and we already got Toy Story 5 in the works. It is already projected to be one of the biggest box office weekends for the film. It had a $250 million budget, but they're saying with the domestic box office and globally, they're going to surpass that, possibly even getting to $275 million after this weekend. And I think Toy Story is going to nail this one. You have Taylor Swift in the movie with her new song, I Knew, I Knew. I think the movie will be really good. I think it's going to be a lot better than Toy Story 4, but I don't think it will be the original trilogy because it is hard to beat the original 3 films. Toy Story 4 to me was a weird but good movie because the villain Gabby was good at the end. She was like anti-villain. She was a villain, but then became good. It was just this weird movie overall. Toy Story 4 had a touching ending with Woody separating from the gang, which I thought that was the best part of the film. But I didn't feel emotionally the same as I did with Toy Story trilogy. And let me tell you, Toy Story 3, that was the most emotional one of the 3 films in my opinion. I cried through that one, especially at the end when Andy was passing on the toys to Bonnie. And it's going to be an interesting film to see what happens next in Toy Story 5. And we were introduced to some of the characters already, like Knifey, who is going to be Forky's wife in the film of Toy Story 5. We saw Knifey introduced in Toy Story 4 in the credits. And I think if Disney and Pixar, they need to nail this right by giving us a good plot and by giving us a good sense of technology in terms of the lily pad, which is the so-called villain of the film. It has to be a really good character, in my opinion. And I also think if Disney wants to do this right, they need to force a Toy Story 6 to see Bonnie properly send off the toys like Andy did in Toy Story 3. And that will also lead me into my next question for everybody as well. Out of the 4 films that Toy Story has given out before Toy Story 5, how would you rank them in terms of the best to worst? And to me, I would say Toy Story 1, of course you can't beat it. It is the best one. It's the original. It's the classic. Sid the Kid. Belonging, jealousy, teamwork were the themes. You gotta love Toy Story 1. Toy Story 3 was my second favorite just because it related so much. The tears that I had at the end, and I'm sure everybody felt that same way. Toy Story 2 came in third for me just because it was a funny movie, had some emotional moments, introduced new characters, and I think it was a good third place film in my opinion. Toy Story 4 was at the bottom. It wasn't like the original 3. No Andy. It was just Bonnie's story. It was different. But yeah, I would have to put Toy Story 4 in fourth, and that's how I believe the rankings are. And what do you guys think about Toy Story 5 coming out in theaters? And how do you guys think would you rank the current 4 movies?
Yeah, so I think with Toy Story 5, I think it's a really, really good concept. The problem is, I think this should have been the concept of Toy Story 4. Because me personally, I do not like Toy Story 4 at all. I don't even view it as like a canon movie. I think the franchise ended with Toy Story 3. And this is just Pixar and Disney doing a casual cash grab as they usually do. But if this was the plot of Toy Story 4, I think I'd be more excited because I think this plot is really, really intriguing. I mean, toys versus tech, we see it nowadays. It's been a thing for years about, kids becoming iPad kids and being stuck on their iPad all day, which is what happens to Bonnie in this movie. That's a really, really good plot. And I think, unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late down the line for them to come up with this. I think this really should have been the idea for the 4th one and not the 5th one. If I were to rank them, I think Toy Story 3 is the best in the franchise, if not one of the best animated movies ever. I mean, a perfect conclusion, perfect end to the trilogy. Literally just a perfect movie. In second place, I have Toy Story 1, another perfect movie. It starts it all. The dynamic between Buzz and Woody in that first movie is just something that was really lightning in a bottle that Pixar found. And it's something that's carried them now, over 30 years into a successful film industry. And then in third, I have Toy Story 2, another great movie. Like I said, that trilogy really is perfect. So Toy Story 2 is great. I really love the whole Al's Toy Barn, plot of the movie with Buzz and the rest of the toys trying to find Woody. That's just very fun to me. And then in fourth place, I do have Toy Story 4. I think it just very much gives like an out of character look at a lot of these people. It sidelines Buzz and Jesse. They're like barely in the movie, and Buzz is just stupid in the movie. Like he does things that he wouldn't do in the first 3. And then Woody, I think Woody kind of leaving and going with Bo Peep is just always something to me that I felt like is out of character as well. Like he's always been the guy that's going to be there for, and in this case, his kid, like he was always there for Andy and Bonnie, even when Bonnie was not treating him the way that he wants to. I think it's just kind of out of character for him. And it's just a lot of different characters, different themes that don't really all mix for me. I'm not a fan of that movie. I have it in last place, but I do think Toy Story 5 will be very good, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah, for me, I have Toy Story 3 at 1. I just think it was a really good ending. Just wrapping everything up. I don't even know if I could rank 1 and 2. I think you could put in either one where you want to, or 2 or 3. You wouldn't be wrong. You could put either one of them 1, 2. You wouldn't be wrong. But I think Toy Story 4 was just bad. I don't think you could have Toy Story without Andy, so doing that for an entire movie, I think is just a bad decision, and it wound up in a bad movie. I'm excited to see Toy Story 5. Like you said, maybe this could have been done a couple of years ago, but overall, I think the topic is still relevant to today. So interested to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, I think you all bring up really great points about this. Nick, I especially agree with you with Toy Story 4 on the ending with Woody and how, like, that was so out of character the entirety of the first 3 movies. It's him trying to get back to Andy, and he just decides to leave. I guess that's part of the character development they were trying to go for. I don't really know. But that really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me at the time. But if I'm gonna have to rank them, I think I'm gonna go with Toy Story 2 first. I think that one is the one I find myself, I mean, I love them all, but I think that's the one I find myself going back to watch most often. I think you see a lot of different sides of Woody in that movie, and a lot of the other characters, there's like a self-discovery arc a little bit in that one. And then I think I'm gonna have to go, Toy Story 3 at number 2. That was the first one I ever watched, so that one's probably got a little bit of a nostalgia factor for me. The first one at number 3, and obviously you can't beat it. It was perfect. Just started one of the most, I read yesterday that Toy Story is, the highest grossing film franchise on Rotten Tomatoes ever. So, and that includes the 5th one, with the early previews of it. So, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong. Obviously, we have our own opinions about Toy Story 4, but I think objectively it was a good movie. In comparison to some of the other stuff that Disney and Pixar have put out in recent years. Just a lot of that stuff is cash grabs. In comparison, this was at least a semi-new story, even though it didn't hit as quite well as the first 3 did. But yeah, and then that would be my 4th. And I think for this one, I'm really excited about it because it is kind of taking on that modern theme. I think you don't see a lot of kids movies kind of addressing the issues of today with the technology. I was really excited when I found out that this movie was about tech and Toys vs. Tech. And hopefully teaches kids that, tech is addictive and not as good for your childhood as toys are. 'Cause I can't speak for you guys, but I didn't grow up like that. So, it should be interesting. I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, and it does have really good reviews so far. People are saying it's a lot better than a lot of the other stuff Pixar and Disney have put out in the recent years. A lot of people are saying some of the stuff they put out since Toy Story 3 came out. So, that provides me with a lot of hope. Hopefully it is good. I'm just excited to get back to the theater, and see one of my favorite franchises, some of my favorite characters, from my childhood back on a big screen. So that's really exciting, but I think that's gonna be it for us today. Thank you for tuning in. For more coverage, make sure you tune in next week and check out our Instagram page at WSOU News. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pirate Report.